Hello, this is Oscar Paz for HIM 5320, and the topic I will be presenting is an analysis of the Hospital Readmission Reduction Program. Introduction. The Hospital Readmission Reduction Program was established by the Affordable Care Act. This program allows the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services to reduce payments to inpatient prospective payment system hospitals that have excessive readmissions. This financial incentive encourages hospitals to seek lower readmission rates. Investigating readmission rates can give insight into how hospitals are performing in response to the HRRP program. Background. A study that looked at 8.3 million hospital admissions found that patients with acute myocardial infarctions had a decrease in post-discharge mortality with the announcement of HRRP, but did not find significant changes with HRRP implementation. Another study compared heart failure readmissions of hospitals subject to HRRP financial penalties to critical access hospitals, which are not subject to financial penalties. And the study found that HRRP hospitals experienced an additional 0.13% decrease and concluded that financial penalties were associated with modest reductions in readmissions and uncertain associations with mortality. Another study looked at 6 major diseases including acute myocardial infarction and found that readmission rates for patients were statistically higher in for-profit hospitals than in government or non-profit hospitals. The prediction for this paper is that there is a statistically significant linear relationship between discharge, readmission, and excessive readmission ratio. Methods. This study will investigate the relationship between discharge, readmission, and excessive readmission ratio by using descriptive statistics and multiple linear regression analysis. It will be a retrospective study that will use data taken by the CMS for the HRRP between 2011 and 2014 for acute myocardial infarction. The tool used for the analysis is SPSS software, where descriptive statistics and multiple linear regression analysis will be performed on the dataset. The dataset is comprised of 11,184 hospitals that responded with values for average number of discharges and average number of readmissions. 13,587 hospitals reported values for excess readmission ratio. These values will be used for the descriptive statistics in SPSS. SPSS will automatically omit the 2,403 hospitals that did not report average number of discharges or readmissions. Therefore, 11,184 hospitals will be used for the multiple linear regression analysis, where the dependent variable is the excess readmission ratio and the independent variables will be the average number of discharges and average number of readmissions. Results. The range of average number of discharges was 28 to 7,248, with a mean of 361.59. The range of average number of readmissions was 11 to 875, with a mean of 60.65. The range of excess readmission ratio was 0.5442 to 1.8260, with a mean of 1.0027. The number of discharges and number of readmissions showed skewness to the right with 3.406 and 2.837 respectively, and that is demonstrated by Figure 1, which shows the frequency distribution. Excess readmission ratio had minimal skewness with a number closer to 0 at 0.564, which is demonstrated by Figure 2, which shows a normal frequency distribution. All variables had kurtosis values greater than 3. Discharge at 33.104, readmission at 14.75, and excess readmission ratio at 3.345. Multiple linear regression was performed to analyze the relationship between the independent variables, average number of discharges and average number of readmissions, and the dependent variable, excess ratio of readmissions. R was equal to 0.327, R squared is equal to 1.07, and adjusted R is 1.107. Both the average number of discharge and readmission have p-values less than 0.05 at 0. The standardized coefficient beta values for the discharges and readmissions were negative 0.477 and 0.479 respectively. Discussion. The average excess readmission ratio was 1.0027, which means there is an overall excess of readmissions because the average is greater than 1.000. In the multiple linear regression, the null hypothesis was that there is no linear relationship between the dependent variable, which is excess readmission ratio, and the independent variables, which were average number of discharge and readmission. And the alternative hypothesis is that a relationship exists between the dependent and independent variables. The linear regression showed that 11% of the variance in excess in readmission ratio can be attributed to the average number of discharges and readmissions. Both independent variables are statistically significant because their p-values are less than 0.05. Thus, we fail to accept the null hypothesis because the relationship between the excess readmission ratio and the average number of discharges and readmissions. With standardized coefficient beta values at negative 0.477 and 0.479 for discharge and admission respectively, we can see that there is a negative relationship between the average number of discharge and excess readmission ratio, and a positive relationship between the average number of readmission and excessive readmission ratio. Additionally, both independent variables had similar strength of relationships with the dependent variable. This analysis shows that the hypothesis that a relationship exists was correct. Further work should look at more recent HRRP data to determine if the excess readmission ratio is still greater than 1.000. Conclusion. This analysis found that there is a statistically significant relationship between the excess readmission ratio and the average number of discharge and readmission. Another important finding was that there is an excess of readmission because the excess readmission ratio is greater than 1.0000. This information is useful because it shows that hospitals must do some work to bring the overall excess readmission ratio down. Overall, it does not seem that the ratio is very high from the data used in the analysis, since the ratio is close to 1.0000. I think that all hospitals overall did a great job in the years analyzed. These are my references, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you.